Good morning and welcome to another conversation with Mose. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. And also, before I begin, I wanted to say happy Poetry Month. It's officially April 1st, and today is the beginning of celebrating all things poetry. And I will definitely be sharing my poetry, and I also will be sharing other poets as well on this journey over the next 30 days. So again, I want to, and also first thank you for listening and engaging with me. I really appreciate the feedback and the just all the information that you guys have shared with me about what you've thought about some of my podcasts in the past. I really, truly appreciate it. And of course, my podcast wouldn't be a podcast without a poem. And this poem is from my book, Love Infinity. And this poem is called Love Infinity. And of course, the book is available where books are sold. Love Infinity. My love is constant, ever changing and growing. My love is strength, the ability to endure all things. My love is imperfect, but always striving for perfection. My love comes in many forms, but can be elusive and intangible. My love is joy, often comes after enduring some pain. My love is a flame I have to keep burning. My love is my soul, loving your soul. My love accepts you, respects you, would never ever reject you. My love for you is infinite. That's actually one of my favorite poems, and I haven't read that in a long time. And it's a classic to me, actually. I wrote that poem in 2005, I believe. And actually, I'm going to do something a little different with every podcast this month for April in honor of Poetry Month. And I'm actually going to share a little story about some of the poems that I've written, the ones that have inspired me, and what inspired, I guess, the story behind the poem. And that particular poem I wrote for the book Love Infinity. And you may or may not understand what I'm getting ready to share, but I will try. And it was basically when I discovered that love really is infinite. And what I mean by that is that I discovered at that time, and I still believe that to this day, is that we need love in all its forms. The love from our family, the love from God, the love of ourselves, the love from a significant other. They're all like these rays of light that keep us alive. And if we lose one of them, the other ones kind of get stronger. So it's like if you lose a parent or if you lose somebody, you have those other loves to sustain you. And of course, God's love is the ultimate. But I believe we need all of these loves to survive in this life. I really truly believe that, when we get married or when we have kids, I think we put, some people, not all, but put a lot of faith in one person, a lot of their happiness in one person or a being. And it's really hard to do that because there's no one that can carry all of that kind of weight of love. And I'm blessed that I have love in my life from all different directions. And even though I get sad sometimes, and even though I go through my emotions, I know my love is infinite. The people that love me, God's love, and the love that I have for myself. And that was the biggest challenge for me, finally loving myself. And it's one of my favorite books. Matter of fact, I have a Love Infinity Volume 1 and a Love Infinity Volume 2. And those poems were special because I was really falling in love with myself. Because for a lot of years, I didn't love myself at all. And I think I was just kind of faking it to go along to get along. And I really didn't have a love for myself that And I didn't realize it until certain events happened in my life. And then I discovered that I really didn't truly have a love for myself. So a lot of great poems were born from that experience and that time. I just wanted to share that with you, and like I said, I'll actually be sharing another poem at the end of the podcast as well. So I really want to bring you into the poetry world this month. So I hope you enjoy the journey. Okay, today's subject is there is life outside of your comfort zone. And it sounds simple, people are like, oh, your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is different for everybody. It doesn't look the same and it doesn't feel the same. But I think a lot of us are still trapped in our comfort zones. And what I mean by that, I believe that we are still little boys and little girls that are still holding on to something that maybe we shouldn't be. And first of all, this is not one of those get out and do something. I'm not trying to guilt anybody to do anything that they don't feel comfortable doing. But as always, I'm going to speak for myself. And I look back over my life, and when I graduated from high school, I decided to move to Atlanta, and I was 18, as green could be. But I honestly don't remember ever being afraid to go to Atlanta, leaving my parents' house, and never lived on my own before. I had no idea what I was going to experience. But that was the beginning of me living outside of my comfort zone, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. And everybody kept telling me how my experiences were going to be so challenging and living in the South. And I had no racism. I didn't really know anything about anything. I mean, not really. So I wasn't afraid to move to Georgia. I had family there, so I really wasn't thinking about it. I just really wanted to be in the music business, and I wanted to just go and live my life fearlessly. And I'm glad I did that, because I think if I had known other things or things that were going to happen to me, I probably would have talked myself out of it. Which brings me to my point. I think that when you're making decisions to move out of your comfort zone, that's something between you and God, And again, I think it's something. Now, unless you are married and you have children or things like that, then of course it affects other people in your life. But I mean, if it's just you, and again, I want to encourage people to try to move out of their comfort zone. And I don't have any regrets about moving out of my comfort zone. And I'm actually proud of myself, because even though I've been heartbroken, I've been disappointed throughout my life, I've never been afraid to not try. And I believe that's one of my favorite character traits about myself that I love, is that I'll never stop trying. And I get uncomfortable. I mean, I can honestly say I didn't get my driver's license until I was 35. And even then, I'm not like I love driving. I'm starting to fall in love with driving. But to be honest with you, I think when I started driving, I was just driving. I wasn't really enjoying the journey. I wasn't really enjoying the trip. And which also brings me to another point. I believe that I'm now starting to enjoy my life and the journey, as opposed to just living it and not really enjoying it, taking the time to, what's the word I'm looking for? Celebrate my accomplishments, celebrate the big things, celebrate the little things. Also, just taking a different turn, like going to work and then some days coming home and going down a different road, taking a different route. I believe it's something else we should be doing. And really the point is for people that are living in fear, and I believe most of us are, about what if this doesn't work out, or what if it doesn't work. And I have that fear every day. Literally, I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk myself out of believing things that I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to have this. Why am I doing this? And I think the biggest challenge for me is all of my money. Every dime I've ever really truly spent has been in my creativity, whether it was a website, whether it was product I was working on. I'm not really a fashion guru. I'm not really a big clothes person, or a lot of my money goes into my creativity. And that's how much I believe in myself. And I've lost money, of course. I mean, there have been moments, things that I wish I could have got my investment back. But it didn't keep me from trying. And it's never going to keep me from trying. I bought my first house when I was 40. And I'm definitely going to do a podcast on buying a home and home ownership. But that podcast will be more about the friends that you lose when you decide to buy a house. And when I bought my house, I was living outside my comfort zone. Here I am, a single man buying a house. Like, everybody was looking at me like, what are you doing? So, but I have no regrets about buying my house, other than I wish I had knew more things about home ownership at that time. But I don't want to jump around too much. But it's still coming back to my point, is that I really want people to really sit down and look at their lives and decide what living outside your comfort zone looks like. And that could be relationships, that could be jobs, it could be going back to school, it could be having children, it could be any number of things. It could be just stepping out the house. And again, I know that's not easy. I mean, sometimes it's easier to just get out of bed, but to literally get up and go out of your comfort zone. And then again, we all don't know. We're not all experiencing the same thing. And all of our comfort zones don't look the same, which is another challenge. But I also think we need to be around friendships and develop friendships that encourage us to be our best selves. And I'm a firm believer that I believe that sometimes we get caught up in being married, being parents, and we lose ourselves in that. And we think that that's all there is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having those goals. But I think also, if you're not fulfilled, there's always going to be a part of you that's going to be unhappy. I don't care if you have the perfect life, you have all the money in the world, or you don't. But if there's a part of you that's not fulfilled, you're going to always feel empty. You're going to feel like, and there's never going to be anybody that can feel that. I don't care how much sex you have. I don't care how many people you get married to, how many kids you have. If there's a part of you that's empty, you're never going to be able to feel that. And I feel like that's where God comes into play. And I don't think God is magical. I don't think he's a guru. I think God is all-knowing. I think he's the best storyteller, the best writer. I love how he brings characters in and out of my life. And all of these and suddenly moments where your life is changed, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But he knows that I'm not fulfilled about a lot of things. And I don't look at my partner for it. I don't look at my parents for it. I totally look at God. And I don't even look at the world for my fulfillment. And I know when I take risks, when I live outside my comfort zone. I moved again from Georgia to Oklahoma. And of course, I got a lot of comments about that. And my family were wondering, well, why are you doing that? And yes, I did move here because of love and my partner, but that wasn't totally the reason. I was ready to go. I was ready to move to another chapter, to another comfort zone, or to another place outside of my comfort zone. And although things did turn out, they were up and down, COVID was still going to happen to where I moved. Whether I stayed in Atlanta or not, COVID was still going to happen. There are certain events that were still going to happen no matter where I was. So I don't have any regrets about choosing to move out of my comfort zone. And if I move again, I'll move again. But that part of me I love. My fearlessness about living outside my comfort zone is something I'm proud of. And again, I realize that everybody can't do that. Everybody's not comfortable living outside their comfort zone. And that's okay. And I think it's something you have to do one day at a time. Whether it's losing weight, stop drinking, if it's something if you want to stop doing drugs. Again, I think that's why I say comfort zones are different for everybody. And sometimes you got to give up people in your life, people that aren't good for you. I mean, literally just not good. If you're trying to be a better person, if you're trying to live a better life for yourself, if you're trying to find that fulfillment and somebody's taking that from you, then there's no room for them in your life. At least not the way they are now. And then I think you should take a look around and see, can you tell people to help you get to that goal, help you outside your comfort zone? I think it's something we have to do little by little. And again, not beat ourselves up if it doesn't happen right away. But I am one of those people that believes that there is a life outside your comfort zone. And you have to take God by the hand and just go. And you're going to get scared. You're going to shake. You're going to get emotional. You're going to be sensitive about it. Those are all normal things. Like I said, if you're moving across country, if you're getting a new job that you don't, you're nervous about it, take the job anyway. At least you'll know whether it would have worked out or not. Because there's nothing like what if, that situation. If you want to go back to school, go back to school. Take a class, but get with somebody that can help you accomplish those goals. I mean, like, again, you all know that I'm writing a screenplay, and people ask me, when is it going to be done? When is it going to be done? It'll be done when it's done. And I had to stop beating myself about it. I'm proud of the 100 pages that I've already written, and I'm close to my ending. And when it's done, it'll be the perfect time. It'll be right on time. And I'm not beating myself up about it because I have other challenges, other things to address right now. So unfortunately, my screenplay is kind of getting put on the back burner. But make no mistake, it will get done. And I'll definitely do a podcast on that journey. But I'm getting back to my books, and I love the fact that I have, even though I haven't been in front of an audience in several years, I love being on the mic. And I feel like this is my stage, and I get to do my poetry, and I get to be myself. And to be honest with you, these podcasts are pretty much an example of who I am on stage. When I go and do my poetry, I talk to the audience. I talk about every poem. I talk about where the poem came from, what inspired it, what brought it together, what emotions I was feeling at the time. Because I think people have an ignorance to poetry that I'm really trying to dispel. Because poetry comes in so many different forms. It's so many different voices. And you really are doing yourself a disservice if you don't pick up a good poetry book or find yourself a poet that you like. And trust me, there are poets that speak on everything. And again, of course, I want you to like my stuff. But also, I think that, again, it's not for everybody, but actually I think that it is. You just have to find the poet that works for you, that really speaks to you. Just like music, you find an artist that speaks to your soul. And that's what poetry does. It's just a matter of finding the right one. And when I wrote my first poetry book, it was another thing I was doing, that I was stepping out of my comfort zone. I was actually coming out of the closet. That first book was about me coming out, and it was about my experiences. And of course, I got a lot of backlash for that. That's a whole nother conversation. But my first book, it was a lot of controversy around it because I was coming out of the closet. I had gay in the title, and it was basically I outed myself, but it was more like it was not a typical coming out of the closet situation. It was just basically me pouring my blood onto paper, tears and heart and joy, and saying, this is who I am. And it was so ironic because I feel like that was the beginning of my journey into poetry. And I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I can't explain it, but like I said, I'll definitely talk about that first book and the joy of writing it and the pain of putting it together. But what I can tell you about it was, at that time, I didn't have a job. I had lost my job. My partner had passed away, and I was sitting at my computer, and I was literally like, what am I going to do now? And I had been looking for a job for like hours. So I stopped and I just started writing. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just had to take a break from looking for a job, and I was stressing out. And crying and emotional. And I was like, let me just type. And that became my first book. And again, I was coming out of my comfort zone, even though I didn't realize that at the time. But again, everything is about coming out of your comfort zone because there's no life inside a bubble. Believe me, there's no life there. You really have to journey and venture out because you're always going to wonder, what if? And like I said, if you're not fulfilled, there's nobody going to give you that fulfillment. I don't care who, I don't care, like I said, you can't have enough, you can't get high enough, you can't drink enough. If you're not fulfilled with your life, there's nobody to blame but yourself. You can't blame anybody for that. Nobody can bring that fulfillment that you need, whatever that, because only you know what that looks like. And even though I get frustrated, I want my success to be overnight. I want what I want, but I know it's in God's timing. I know it is. He's been pruning me for years, and I'm thinking, what are you creating me for? What is this goal? Because it doesn't matter if you don't have God's anointing on it. I can position myself to get 1,000 likes and 100 downloads or whatever, but if it's not time, it's not time. And even though I don't like it, I'm making peace with it. Even though I'm kicking and screaming, I can't do anything until it's time. And God is protecting me. I have to believe that too, from any negative things that may happen. And I've learned a lot. Believe me, I've learned a lot. He's made me more disciplined, more present, more dedicated to being great and getting more prepared. Like I said in the previous podcast, being more prepared for the future, whether it's becoming a millionaire or buying another home or just staying healthy, eating right, exercise. And even though that doesn't guarantee a long life, I'm going to do my best to live a long life and to do great things. And again, no, I'm not perfect. I'm very flawed, still temperamental, still emotional, still all those things. But I want to encourage people, again, there's nothing wrong with you for wanting more for your life. If you live in a small town and you want to move to New York, I think you should, or at least go there for a weekend and see. I just think that if you want to buy a house, do the research, figure out what you want to do. What kind of house do you want? I don't think you have to wait on anybody to help you make those decisions. It is scary, but I truly believe that's what God is for. We give him all these things like he's some kind of genie, but you have to give him your pain, your fears, your joy, your love, because life is a risk. We wake up every day, every time we walk out the door, there's a risk that we're taking. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we can't listen to people that aren't helping us emotionally, mentally, because it's taxing being around people that don't believe in you, you do enough of beating yourself up. You don't need to be around people that are encouraging you to do nothing, because you're going to resent them and be mad at some point. So I just say, take the time to figure out what you want to do and take steps to doing it. Because again, there is a life outside your comfort zone. It really, really is. And I think you just have to figure out what it is you want to do and then take steps to really do it. But it doesn't have to be announced. It doesn't have to be posted on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. Just do it. I think it's something that you and God, something should be sacred between you and God. It's only a conversation that you and he have that nobody needs to know. And you step out, whether you want to be an actor, a singer. And if you're a singer, I think you should make that CD just for you. Not trying to get a record deal. Just if you want to do an EP of 10 songs, I say do it. Just get it out of your system. Get that CD, that music out of your system, so you can say, you know what, I can check that box. And if you want a record deal and you want to pursue a dream of being a singer, then I think that's wonderful. But if you want to make a CD just to get that music out, I say do it. And nowadays you don't need a record label. to put out music. You just absolutely do not. So again, I do hope you guys got something from this podcast, because I always want to encourage you. And I have to admit, sometimes when I'm doing podcasts, I get so nervous, and it's just me. But I'm always wondering, God, are they going to be listening? Is this important to them? Is it a good subject? But I have to be honest. I don't know what people are listening to, what they're engaging to. I just try to be honest. Mistakes and all. Sometimes I stutter. Sometimes I, trip over my words. But I think being honest is really what I'm about. There's never going to be a perfect podcast. And, sometimes there's noise in the background and my computer wants to act crazy. But again, I think you wouldn't accept anything less than honesty from me. And just transitioning, I want to talk about my store, All Things Moetic. Again, I appreciate my customers and the people that have stopped by and purchased. But for Poetry Month, I'm definitely going to be running some specials on my books. And you can buy the books directly from me if you just go to my store. And if you don't see a book in there, you can also go online, because I keep the books that I have on hand. But all of my books are available. But to be honest with you, I would rather you buy my books through lulu.com, lulu.com, because Amazon takes a lot from a lot of authors, whether you realize it or not, as far as royalties go. So it's better if you buy directly from me, or go to lulu.com. Or like I said, if you prefer Amazon, that's fine too. And also the poets that I'm going to be sharing with you in the future, if you could patronize them, that would be really great as well. And I'll be, like I said, having t-shirts and coffee mugs and things like that in the near future. Which brings me to my last point of becoming a sponsor / patron. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm really trying to raise money for the next few months, because I really want to do my t-shirts and my t-shirts for A Conversation with Mose, my coffee mugs, and my t-shirts for husband and other projects that I have going on that I really believe in for my store. I'm really trying to expand my brand, and I'm reaching out to my fan base and to my people to see if you're willing to sponsor me, because I believe in my brand. I believe in what I'm doing, and I want to take it even further. And if you believe in what I'm doing, you can become a patron and a sponsor just by going to Podbean. It should be on my page. If you click on the link, it'll take you to Podbean, PodBean.com, and just search for me. But again, I'm really trying to take my thing to another level, and still recovering from COVID. But again, I don't have all the money to do all the things I would like to do. So I'm just reaching out to my fan base to see. And whatever donations you want to contribute would be wonderful. But again, as always, first of all, I appreciate you listening and supporting me any way you can. But also, I want to say thank you for listening. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world. But before I close, I'm going to close with another poem. And this poem is from the book Helium, written by Rudy Francisco. And this poem is called When People Ask How I'm Doing. When people ask how I'm doing, I want to say my depression is an angry deity, a jealous God, a thirsty shadow that ridings my joy like a dish rag and makes juice out of my smile. I want to say getting out of bed has become a magic trick. I am probably the worst magician I know. I want to say this sadness is the only clean shirt I have left, and my washing machine has been broken for months. But I'd rather not ruin someone's day with my tragic honesty. So instead, I treat my face like a pumpkin. I pretend like it's Halloween. I carve it into something acceptable. I laugh and I say, I'm doing all right. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. Thank you for listening.